There's what I call the 3 A's, which will fail your relationship like that: addictions, excessive anger, and affairs.
What are the reasons that relationships fail? Are there red flags? Are there things that you should look for when you're in a relationship?
Well, I've discovered basically one underlying reason, and I call it self-abandonment, self-rejection. And there's 4 ways that people abandon themselves. One is they don't learn to stay present. And if they're not present, they can't connect. If they're not connected to themselves, they can't connect with their partner. They judge themselves and they feel bad. And when they judge themselves and feel bad, they're going to judge their partner. They turn to various addictions to numb out, because they're not taking responsibility for their feelings. And when they numb out with various addictions, they cannot connect to their partner. And 4th is they make their partner responsible for their happiness. Now, if both people are doing this, there is no way that relationship is going to survive. And so when one person starts to learn to take responsibility for learning to love and value themselves, the other person may or may not do that. If they do, that relationship will likely grow. If they don't, it may be time to leave it. Because if one person grows and learns and takes responsibility for their happiness and joy, and the other says, I'm not interested, I just want you to take care of me, that relationship is not going to thrive.
I call them the 4 R's of how relationships go downhill. The first one is you start out, everything's wonderful to some extent, and then you start finding that you're annoyed by your partner, little things. And that would be the first R, resistance. You're resisting this, resisting that. And ultimately, we resist our partners when we're not being true to ourselves. Second R, if you don't deal with your resistances, then you start feeling resentments. That's when you're starting to keep score. Okay, I'm doing this, I'm not getting this. Nothing's going to get better at that point. It's just downhill. And what you have to do at resentment is you have to stop and say, wait, stop giving so much, start giving to myself. Nurture myself again, connect with myself, so I now have more to give to my partner. Resentment inevitably turns into rejection. And this is where couples come to me and they say, oh, we're just incompatible. He wants to go here, she wants to go there. I want sex, she doesn't want sex. He likes Chinese food, I like Italian. Whatever your partner likes, you just don't like. And it's not like you're being passive-aggressive consciously. You just don't resonate with them because you've repressed who you are, and now you're pushing, almost like magnets, repelling each other. And if you stay together at that point, you go into the 4th R, which is repression. Then a lot of couples just stay together, they're comfortable, but there's no passion, there's no joy, they're roommates together.
There's 3 stages in a relationship. The first is the honeymoon, where you're focused on everything that you love about them. Second stage, you focus on the areas where there's differences. If you have skills for bringing differences to an our way that works for both of you, if you have skills for seeing the other as different, that they have a valid alternative viewpoint, and your viewpoint is still valid, so you can come together. With those skill sets, then you go into the 3rd level of love, which is really genuinely enjoying each other, really appreciating each other, focusing on the positives and letting the negatives be whatever. That's how he is.
When you're dating, this is when you're really supposed to be finding out, are you compatible? Do you have the same idea of what your relationship should look like? This is all stuff you need to talk about. Are your values similar? Are your relationship styles the same? Is your idea of a relationship that you're supporting a big future, and his idea as a relationship is that you're going to be stuck at the hip all the time? I mean, either way is great, but you need to be able to agree about it.
At the same time as there are deeper psychological motivations, and that there are skill sets, and there are intentions to purposely see your partner in the best possible light, there's what I call the 3 A's, which will fail your relationship like that: addictions, excessive anger, and affairs.
Much of the time in our modern world, we just take for granted if there's an affair, the relationship has the end. And that's not so. I mean, we're all therapists, coaches. We help people have great relationships after affair, and I know how I do it, which is I have both people see that their relationship was already suffering, and that's why the affair happened in most cases. And if we can address how both people have been contributing to the problem, that's how you can rebuild trust. If I'm waiting around for my partner to rebuild trust, and change in some way, you're never going to rebuild that trust. You have to look inside yourself and heal within and see how you contributed to the problem as well as them. Then you can rebuild trust.
There are a lot of reasons that relationships fail, but there are even more ways for us to keep our relationships together.